everyone. Welcome to Hospitality Today Live. And of course, this is a very, very special episode. All day long, this Thursday, September 23rd, we are celebrating International Hospitality Women's Day. And we're very, very proud to let not only you, our viewers, know about it, but the entire hospitality profession worldwide. We're here to celebrate and recognize women across the globe in many companies and organizations. And so we are so happy that you are here to start this out with us this day, because we've got amazing, amazing guests all day long. And today I'm going to start out with Eileen Bistrisky, who happens to be a business consultant, speaker, facilitator, and adventurer. Now, how can you not be an adventurer when you're from Canada? She's the immediate past president for ILEA, which is the International Live Events Association in Vancouver. And so what is Eileen going to talk about? Well, she's going to talk about the importance of collaboration. Yes, we need to know and understand so much more about how to do this, especially in a post-COVID world. She's also going to share with us what, her involvement in ILEA, the benefits personally and professionally, and what advice does she have for women to succeed in today's hospitality profession, and so much more. So don't go away. We'll be right back, and you will really enjoy this episode. So hang tight. Hospitality Today Live. On this very special edition, we have my very good friend all the way from Vancouver, Canada, representing Vancouver. We've got Eileen Bistrisky. Can I say that name correctly for a change?
Bistrisky.
I love it. It's a beautiful, beautiful name. So thank you so much for joining us. We're happy to have you here.
Thank you so much for inviting me to be here, Deborah. It is so great to see you again, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, absolutely. And we're thrilled that you are here from Canada talking to us all about collaboration. But before we get started, I want everyone to know, including myself, what does MBA, CSEP, CMC, which is all your credentials, what are those and what do those stand for the hospitality industry?
Well, the MBA is just a regular Master of Business Administration, which I think encompasses all industries. The one that I'm most proud of course, is the Certified Special Event Professional, CSEP. Oh. So within the hospitality industry, there's many different segments, and I think we all complement one another. One of our themes today is going to be around collaboration, and I think it's so important that we all collaborate. So my area of expertise has been primarily in the events side of hospitality and tourism. And so the Certified Special Events Professional designation is overseen by ILEA, which is the International Live Events Association. And I was actually, interestingly enough, I was the first CSCP in Western Canada back in 2000, so 21 years ago. Wow. And then CMC is just, I am a certified management consultant. So, pre-COVID, I was doing a lot of consulting with small businesses in the events sector. And of course, things got hit pretty hard during COVID. So we've all been having to adapt and
Yeah, definitely things have changed. And speaking of that, I know that, the Vancouver area, according to bringameeting.com, the economic impact in Vancouver is around 1.3 billion annually, with like 11,000 jobs just in Vancouver alone. And yet the border is opening, but yet here in the States, we're not opening until the end of August of some sort. What does this all look like for events up there in Canada?
Well, it's been an interesting journey. The challenge right now is we really want to make sure that we're following the guidelines set by, and within Canada, I'm sure it's the same in the States, it's provincially regulated. So what's fascinating for us right here, right now, is British Columbia is right next to Alberta. And the rules and regulations in those two provinces could not be more different right now. So while Alberta has been quite open, and they had their Calgary Stampede, which is an annual, extremely successful, well-known event. And from what I heard, I understood they did a really phenomenal job of trying to maintain safety protocols. British Columbia is still not there yet. So we are still doing a tremendous amount of virtual events, conferences, starting to do hybrid. We can now have smaller events, and some spaces are now starting to open up, but it's really going to be difficult to predict. And what has been interesting is, because I've been involved in the association side so much as there's tremendous pressure to, go back to the way we were, as leaders, we really want to make sure that we're doing things safely, so that every step forward is not going to result in 2 steps backwards. So the leaders tend to be right now, I'm sensing, the most cautious about protocols and guidelines. And so here within British Columbia, we actually have created quite a strong collaborative group. And I don't know if you want me to get into this now. I don't want to things.
Yeah, because we know you're a big advocate to, a safe restart guidelines of some sort. Tell us about it. Yes, tell us all about it.
So absolutely. So, we have a variety of different associations here in Vancouver. The primary, alliances that we've developed within ILEA. There's MPI, which is Meeting Professionals International. There's PCMA, which is the Provincial Convention Management Association. There's FIPA, which is Fraser Valley Event Planning Association. So we've all sort of rallied forces and then gotten together and supported collectively with a working group. And this working group is working in conjunction with Tourism Industry Association of BC and the Metro Vancouver Tourism and Hospitality Industry Response and Recovery Task Force. And so this working group has been working to put together safe restart guidelines. And then we have in turn been asking our members of all the associations and the industry at large to look at them, to pledge to abide by them, so that it gives us some collective strength when the task force on behalf of us collectively is communicating with the government to try to advocate for safe restarting. But we're still, who would have thought when this task force, got together back, last year that, we're still in this process. We're not there yet.
And I would imagine you're right in the thick of it yourself, because you have actually been the president of ILEA several times, and have been holding twice. And held, several other positions, and ILEA Canada has won so many awards. I mean, you're in the thick of this from the top.
So it's been a really interesting journey, Deborah. I can't say enough about how much industry involvement really helps one develop professionally and personally. And so 20 years ago, I was actually chapter president for ILEA Vancouver, which at that time was the Pacific Northwest chapter, because back then, all of British Columbia, Washington, Oregon, Alberta, Saskatchewan, it was just one region, and we were called the Pacific Northwest. And that was part of my initial journey. And from there, you go on to serve in other different roles and levels. I was Western Regional Vice President, and then we formed affiliates in 2005. Previously, we were regions, but then because of different currencies, exchange rates, policies, and whatnot, we created this affiliate structure where ILEA Canada separated, and then we had EMEA, and we had Australasia at the time. So I was chair of ILEA Canada in 2010, 2011. Went on to serve on the International Board of Governors for ILEA, and was trying to enjoy perhaps a bit of retirement. And with all that was going on during COVID last year, it was just a hard time for our industry, a hard time for the business leaders that were serving our organization. Many of our board members, were facing, their businesses potentially having to shut down. And so a number of our board members had to step down, and I was called and asked if I could come back again and be president for the second time. So that's kind of how I got back into this scene. And that's how I got to be in the thick of it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, there's nobody better than having somebody that has already that previous experience to handle what is going on today in our industry. So let's talk about collaboration
Mhm.
between association chapters, businesses, the government, and for women.
Mhm. Yeah. So the
So
collaboration, I think I've touched on already a bit with,
really,
ILEA, MPI, PCMA, FIPA, the associations I think have formed more strategic alliances in this past year than ever before. We produced a number of joint educational programming events, and those were so well attended. I think it's quite common in most associations internationally when they have a local only event. It's very common to get 30 or 40 people out. Like that just seems to be pretty normal across the board. And we were getting 150 plus people on these live virtual calls because they were open to everyone throughout the province. So it didn't matter if you're in Victoria or if you're in Kelowna, you're in Vancouver, everyone could attend. So that collaboration I think was outstanding. And then we also collaborated very strongly across the country within our 4 ILEA chapters. So we have ILEA Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, and Toronto. And you were mentioning, women in hospitality and tourism. And what was a bit delightful this past year was all 4 of us chapter presidents were women. So myself, Julia,
oh,
Kim, and Nella.
great.
And the chair last year of ILEA Canada, Tara Sweeney, she is also a woman. So
Nice.
we have felt within the events industry, I think a lot of strong leadership from women. And it does speak to how important representation is. So I
Yes.
find in male dominated industries, it tends to attract more male leaders. In female dominated industries, it makes the doors much more open for women. So
Sure.
we've been very lucky that there has been many years of strong women. In fact, right now, the international president from ILEA, Corinne Kessel, she's also from Vancouver, another Canadian. So the Canadian women have been very strong in their leadership role, and that just paves the way for others. What I do think we are working really hard on right now, diversity, equity, and inclusion is at the forefront of everything we're thinking about, and because representation matters. And so we're looking to diversify beyond gender, but also looking at, cultural representation, looking at, we've done quite well with strong representation with members from the LGBTQ community, but to continue to also look at other demographics so that our leadership is reflective of our membership and the workforce.
Sure, sure. So doing all of this and being involved with all of this, what has been beneficial to you on a personal standpoint of view and a professional standpoint of view?
I think any association, whether it's ILEA, MPI, NACE, you name it, when you get involved in a leadership level, it enables you to gain experience that many of us are either business owners. So once you're at the top of your business, you don't have anyone within your own company to develop with. So taking on a leadership role with another organization really ups your game as a leader. And I think the flip side to that is for people who are working in larger organizations who don't have the opportunity to be the head of that organization, they actually can be the head of a chapter of an association. So personally and professionally, I think you develop a lot of skills and you learn a lot of areas that you might not be practicing within your own job through the association. And then personally, just the friendships, the camaraderie. When you're traveling a couple times a year to go to these conferences, some of my closest friends, I realize, we've never lived in the same city, but because we see each other 2 or 3, sometimes 4 times a year, these deep bonds develop, and that you can just reach out and ask them for help or assistance
Yes.
or advice or guidance, and that's
Yep.
invaluable.
Yeah, it really is. Those are great two benefits that you just mentioned, and I think women, when it comes to relationships, it's always good to know that is there for you, and what better way to build relationships is when you have that common goal. If you're all on a same committee or a same board, as an association, you're all looking at the same goal and working together and building those relationships can be very, very strong. Very
Absolutely.
strong. So I think that's a very good benefit. I can totally see, and because of it, you know, so many people, you have so many resources above and beyond, and it's just an amazing how it works if women just got involved.
And another thing I have to say, I'm noticing such a positive shift in women supporting women. I feel now the cultural norm is very much, you know, lift as you climb. So everybody is supporting one another and encouraging one another and applauding one another, which is such a welcoming and strengthening. Like, we are all stronger as we support one another. And I have to say, you know, when I think of when I was starting out in business, perhaps because I was a younger woman at the time, but it tended to be a little bit more competitive. It tended to be a little bit more, oh, you know, we can't promote her because she's getting too far ahead of us. Or like there was a potential cattiness or potential, I don't know what it was, but it wasn't good. And I have to, like, I will confess, I did not enjoy being a woman in business back then when it came to other women. It was actually always fine with men because the men weren't catty. And I'm just so thrilled to see that seems to be a piece of our history, and it's long gone. It's behind us. And I certainly hope that whenever I see a young woman now, who I see, oh, that was me 30 years ago, I feel like I just want to support her. And I hope young women today feel really supported and not feel held back or that people are jealous of them or, you know, I think it's really important.
Yeah. You're spot on about that. And yet I wonder what caused the shift. What do you think created that? Because I totally agree with you. It was very competitive, but now it's changing. Do you know why that is?
I think because now I'm trying to sensitively, delicately put this because I love men and I love working with men. And I really don't want this to be like a, you know, patriarchy versus whatever conversation. But I do feel that there was a time where to succeed in general, one had to adopt more masculine traits. You know, we had, so to survive in the boardroom, we just had to be one of the boys. And I was very good at that. So I was always really good at that. And that's how it was. But as we've kind of shifted more and realized more that actually, no, wait a minute, there is room for nurturing in the boardroom. There is room for compassion. There is room for empathy. There is room for authenticity. And what I love so much about, I did my MBA 10 years ago. Even then, even 10 years ago, you know, I went in expecting to learn about shareholder value and profitability. And I was so thrilled that we actually had to learn about humans, emotions, compassion, because ultimately humans drive business. How we work together is what's going to influence our success. So as we develop better relationships, as we understand and appreciate the need for compassion and all of that, I think that's sort of what created the shift, is that now it's being discussed in MBA programs, which are pretty much 50-50 male, female, that these are traits that we all need to have. So now it's like, oh, okay, these are actually good qualities. And the women no longer have to be one of the boys, which I think might have been what was leading to some of the, you know, pushing other women down.
Right.
It's a hypothesis. It's a completely untested, unresearched hypothesis.
Yeah, no, that's great analogy. I like that because that's a hard one to figure out. But you're absolutely right. There is a big difference from, you know, years ago to today. Completely different. And I like that strategy better today, the way it goes today. So what, you know, and your success around, you know, what you do and all the involvement you've been in and all of those credentials and everything. What advice do you give to women in hospitality to be successful like you?
Get involved in associations, because that's where you're going to find your mentors, your colleagues, your contacts, people who will, you know, help you to advance in your career. Be open and be willing to ask questions, be willing to put yourself out there, be willing to, I think the challenge when you're entering a new environment and you don't know what you don't know is, you know, it can be a little bit daunting and a little bit intimidating, but just throw yourself in there, and we all had to start somewhere. So, and what I find too with associations is typically you've got leaders with tons of experience and no time, and entry level people with time, but no
Right.
experience. So if you can
Right.
create a bit of a mentorship relationship, and
Okay.
most association boards are always desperately looking for people who have the time to commit to
Right.
help. And that's where you're going to make phenomenal contacts, develop relationships, and grow and learn.
And even during this pandemic, it was really interesting to watch associations around the world. Their membership just, blossomed because everybody wanted to belong. They wanted to be belong. Yeah, you lost people, but at the same time, people were coming back in. And not that it's at the numbers of where it was pre-pandemic, but still, people wanted to feel belong. And I think that you're absolutely right. If they can join an association or even ask for, what can I do? There's always something to do. What better way to build relationships than with an association?
I think you hit the nail on the head there, Deborah, with the word belong. And interestingly enough, ILEA is really looking to that. We've got, 3 things we're focusing on, and one is a sense of belonging. And while because of COVID and people's losing jobs and losing businesses, our registered members dropped, but our engagement didn't. So
Right.
while the ratio of members to non-members may have shifted at any given meeting, we were still getting a ton of engaged attendees who want to belong, who want the support, who are really benefiting from community. And we felt that as an association, our role is to provide that for the industry. And, when people get their jobs again, when people's businesses go up again, they will rejoin us because they'll remember what we provided.
Right.
So we really were looking to
Right.
support the industry as a whole so that the industry survives this pandemic.
Right. Wow, that's all such great information. So I can't believe how fast this episode goes, but I have one more question for you that we're asking all our guests. And so since we have launched this wonderful mission and platform for international hospitality women everywhere, what does it mean to you now that we've launched this? What does this mean? What does the International Hospitality Women's Day actually mean to you?
It means it's one of many great opportunities to stop and reflect and to highlight the importance of. So this one is about women. And what I feel is so important is that if we look at each segment of the population and focus a day on really honoring and respecting them, that's going to enable that segment to flourish. So today is about women in hospitality and tourism. So this is our moment. But I feel there's so many other segments of the population that also deserve their day. And if we each collectively support one another. Right. So, when there is a day focusing on other groups, to wholeheartedly support that group and this is their day. It's all about this group. And we collectively do that as a community at large. I think the world benefits from stronger people and stronger representation.
I agree. 2000%. Excellent. Well, thank you. This was definitely enlightening. I know you have just done a fantastic job. Canada has a very good representative, especially Vancouver, and we are just so thrilled that you were able to have some time with us. And I know people are going to want to connect with you, so we do have your email and your website. Is there any other way that people can connect with you?
Well, I'm on, LinkedIn, Instagram. Bistrisky is who I am on Instagram and Facebook and all the platforms. And YouTube, I have a YouTube channel.
Excellent. Good. Well, then I think the viewers that are watching that want to expand on knowing more about the association world and how to collaborate in that world, by all means, they need to contact you and go from there. But I'm sure that's another relationship that will be built. So they need to take advantage of that. So that's what we're here for. Thank you so much, Eileen. It was such a pleasure to have you here on this very, very special celebration of International Hospitality Women's Day.
Thank you so much, Deborah. It was such a pleasure to be here with you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, there you go. Was that a great episode with Eileen Bistrisky? I can't even say her last name. I'm going to keep trying it because it's such a beautiful, beautiful name and such a beautiful, beautiful person. So by all means, stay in touch with her, get in touch with her. And if you want to share this conversation with others, we're showing this episode on all the social media platforms, and you'll want to take advantage of that as well, because we'd also like to hear your feedback, your comments. Just contact us at hello@hospitalitytodaylive, or again at all our social media platforms. So thank you so much for joining us. And we've got more guests coming up on this really special day for the International Hospitality Women's Day. Thank you for joining us.